All right, here we are. Another episode of Salient Points. This one's number 69. It's special. I don't know
69.
why. We don't really,
Bam, 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 bam.
we don't mess around like that. We don't. This is a clean show. This is for the children's
It's a
amusement.
day, man. It's a day.
It's your day. Definitely, it's your day, Dylan. Not your birthday necessarily, but it's your day. I'm Carlos Macias. Thank you guys for joining us this week. Like I said, Salient Points number 69 for May 24. Here, the Master of Ceremonies, or the Commander of Arms, or whatever you want to call it this week, Dalen. Dalen Kirkwood, it's your day, man. How are you doing today? Thank you for joining us, sir.
I'm actually not having a case of the Mondays today, so I'll be okay.
You feeling all right? You feeling all right this week?
Yeah,
Okay, that's good
I'm
to
feeling fine. I'm feeling fine.
you know who I'm really wondering
right now. What?
who's feeling right now is Luis Mendez on the wheels of steel. I heard you were up in Joshua Tree over the weekend, Luis. Was that a nice
Uh-huh.
trip?
was. Yeah, it was good. But it's good to be back home because before that I went to Universal Studios and then I wasn't home for. If I'm not home for a long period of time, I get kind of weird. So
You're like, you know what? I need to be back home at some point. Well, I'm glad
We
you're
call
back.
that homesickness, good sir.
All right, there you go. He just wants to live his life. He misses the cat. You have a cat, right?
Mhm.
You can't
She's
tell
right
because
here.
of the blurriness.
What did
Definitely
you do
blurring the
about your
cat.
cat? Did you have somebody taking care of your cat while you were gone?
nah, I just straight abandoned her, dude.
Okay.
Oh,
We're just
snaps.
gonna have PETA come in on us, but before PETA comes in and swoops in on like what we've been doing to cat or not doing to cat, we got our little segment over here called the People Speak. I mean, I don't know. We'll figure out another name if you guys don't like that, but we do have like this guy just came through at the 11th hour. Jet. His comment was he kept it simple. He kept it pithy, which I hope everyone that leaves comments keeps it pithy. If you don't know, Dalen, that means like keep it short and concise. Yeah, I
Well,
saw
thanks
you
for pointing that at me.
Yeah, no, I know because Luis is doing all right. He's doing fine. But Jet he says Jet says Eld Ring. I said what I said. That's it. That was his comment on YouTube. You guys can go on YouTube. Please throw some comments out there. We'll read them on here. Like, subscribe, all that cool, fun stuff. Dylan,
I said what I said, and I meant what I said.
What's up with your buddy over here, man? What's going on here?
He thinks he's funny.
Okay. I mean, I liked it. I liked it. I got a little chuckle out of it. Luis, I mean, Eld Ring, dude. Eld Ring. Next on here, we do have another comment from Matthew Gonzalez. Thank you, sir, for joining us. He left us a long old comment. I was about to break it down. He even said it himself. He was like, sorry, Carlos, I got to rant again. TLDR, too long didn't read what Gotham Knights has gone through is a travesty. And he went on and on and on, but then I saw his follow-up comment. It's like, you can choose to read this comment instead, Carlos, and I will. I just beat Elden Ring.
And I will, just so you know.
I just beat Elden Ring a few weeks ago, and I'm not too surprised so many people jumped in. This is completely different from other FromSoft games in terms of pacing. Demon Souls and Bloodborne make you play a certain way to beat the bosses. Elden Ring is so open and free by comparison, and there's so much to do and collect. You might spend the same amount of time to beat any of these games, but Elden Ring is just so much bigger with more to do, so you don't notice how much you've been playing. Dalen, your thoughts on Mr. Matthew Gonzalez's comment here?
Sure. I'm glad what you said. It might. No, I was gonna say it might actually be true because I didn't play it for very long, but just from the feel of it right away, I could tell that there was plenty to do because I've been playing these particular games since Demon Souls, like when it first came out, and it felt very linear, and I was good with that. I was good with the linearness, and I guess they just continued that going on, and then they went the way of the Breath of the Wild and said, you know what? We're going to make it as open world as possible. You could do whatever you want. Try and figure out how to kill these guys however you want. I've seen people in Breath of the Wild, like, throw a bomb in the air, fly with their little kite thing, and go over a wall straight to, like, the last point in their little dungeon. You could probably do the same
There's
thing.
Definitely a lot to do, but I'm a little surprised, Dylan, that you lore master yourself. I made a little maidenless comment earlier, like off the record, and you were like, "What's that? What does that mean?" I'm like, "Dude, that happens in the first 10 minutes." Lore master. We gotta keep stripping you of this title, man. You're not following the lore out here. Luis, what do you got to say about?
Hey, when I play the game, I'll follow the lore.
I mean, that's like 10 minutes in though. Dan is what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
at the time, I honestly wasn't feeling it. It was a weird moment in my life. All right.
something going on with you, sir. But thank you for joining us, Dalen. Luis, what were your thoughts here on your friend Matthew? Do you appreciate that we didn't read his like 7,000 word tome comment, which we appreciate, but you know we gotta cut it down.
I would have actually preferred you gone with what he said about Gotham Knights because I feel like that would have gotten Dalen going a little bit.
What did
But
he say? Do you remember what he said? Did you read the comment?
Snaps. Hey, give us the TLDR version.
well, he gave it to us. He
Yeah.
said what Gotham Knights has gone through is a travesty, and then he went into specific situations and scenarios about talking about
But
how
he
they.
did say you can choose to read this, right? So don't tell
He
me
did give
could
you
choose
the
it.
option.
You know,
I'm
and I
just
went
saying.
with it. How about this, Matthew? Next time, keep it pithy, keep it short about Gotham Knights, and we could definitely get Dalen going. It doesn't take much, but give us a little prompt.
But yeah,
I
I
hate
did
you
tell
guys.
him.
I hate
I
you
did
guys
tell
so
him to
much.
hit you guys up. I said if you could keep hitting Carlos up, and if you get something Batman, then you'll get Dalen going. It's a double whammy. So
Hey, that's fair. That's fair. Hey, so like you guys see, we bring you guys into the comments. So please like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. YouTube.com and Twitter. Twitter.com's a good one. I check the comments on there.
WeGotComs.com.
But we will move into our headline now. And actually, the big thing for me, man, I don't know if you guys were following the whole PlayStation Plus Premium Extra Deluxe. I don't know, whatever all these other names are. But I might be convinced, man. I don't know, even if to just maybe grab it for a month, if there's a month option. Because these guys are over here, we talked about it last week. But they start throwing trophies around. And I need them in my life. So they're over here
You
talking
do
about...
not.
I do. They're talking about the trophy list has gone live, or there's the trophy lists are available for you to look at for Ape Escape, Syphon Filter, Hot Shots Golf, Wild Arms, etc., etc. So I don't know about you guys, man, but this is the killer app right here. This is what Nintendo should be doing. I would have already bought the expansion pack on Nintendo, man. I wouldn't even have thought
As soon as
twice.
they got trophies.
Yeah, if they put some achievement system or trophy system, I would have been like, yeah, Nintendo, of course. How much do you want from me? I'll give you. Here's all my cash. Here's all my money. But Dalen, what are you thinking about these trophies thing, man? Is this enough of a kind of it pushes you over, or no? For me, it kind of does. But what about you?
It would be the thing that gets me to play some of the older games, but I already played a lot of these games. So the ones that I already played, I'd be like, nah, I understand that there's trophies, but I'm good. I mean, Final Fantasy VII, I'm sure one of the trophies is defeat Emerald and Ruby Weapon, but I am not trying to get to level 99. That's one of those lore master things. I want to throw a rock at your forehead right now.
Was it in the first 10 minutes of the game or what?
Hey, Carlos actually got past the first 10 minutes of that game. But the point being is that there's their what is the word I'm looking for? They're bosses. They're optional bosses.
Yeah.
And one of them has 1,000,000 HP. So good luck in trying to kill that guy.
Now you do bring up an example that already has trophies, Dalen. The PlayStation version,
yes,
like the PS3 or PS4 version of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, when it was re-released with the trophy system, and it came with a little wallpaper. But the fact is now they're doing this with a bunch of games. So if they re-release Legend of Legaia, even though I know that's PS2, and they put trophies on that, I'm gonna play Legend of Legaia.
You're gonna throw down for like a month of PlayStation Premium.
It's gonna take me more than a month to beat that game.
Well, there you go. See this is what gets me on. Like I gotta be honest. I still gotta look at the list a little bit, but already I'm
some of these
like,
games are gonna be hours, 45 hours.
I'm already
if not
thinking like,
more.
you know what? Let me drop a month worth of premium or whatever. I hope that's an option. And I'll just kind of tinker around. I don't know if I'll platinum all of them, but I didn't have a PlayStation 1, Dalen, as I've mentioned before. So this kind of would be a perfect way to I'll get some trophies. I'll get some dumb stuff. And they usually reference stuff in the community too, which is kind of cool. A lot of times the trophies are like, this is what the community thought was a big deal. So it kind of gets you to do wacky shit that it makes me feel part of like a generation that just kind of flew me by. Luis, your thoughts on the trophies going into these old games?
Yeah, that is definitely a welcome addition. I don't know if we're not in the same wavelength in the sense that that's not going to make me get PS Plus Premium Extra Exclusive whatever version. Especially, I don't necessarily need to go back to PS1 games, and none of these that have the trophy lists really convince me. Yeah. But yeah, if it rolls over to PS2 games and the like, then yeah, maybe.
There you go. Which, why wouldn't they, right? I mean, you would think. I mean, at that point, maybe it's a matter
Amen.
of like, because the PlayStation 1 games are kind of a part of the most quote unquote exclusive premium, top of the line version of the program, right? So maybe that's kind of what it is, right? They're like, you know what, let's get these people hooked in. Dalen, before we move on to this next thing.
Final Fantasy Tactics with trophies. You're gonna be there all day.
You're good. And that gets you, Dan.
I'm down with that.
Okay, there you go.
Actually, if you give me Xenogears or Xenogears, however anybody wants to pronounce it, and you put trophies on that, I will go back and restart that game again.
All right.
I still haven't beaten that game, and that game is fun.
It's a slippery slope. They give you the ape escape. They give you the ape escape to start, and then they give you these other ones that you can think of that it's like, oh, this is gonna be juicy. It's gonna be juicy. So I think that's what it. To me, it's kind of like what gets me to it. I mean, I gotta see kind of what are the monthly options and all that, but I think this is kind of starts tipping my hand. I'm like, you know what? I can pull the wallet out for a month, maybe.
Well, I guess that means in that regards, it just depends on what games they actually place up there. Because I'm not trying to go back for the Parappa the Rapper things. I'm not trying to do that.
and I will move on to the next point before we get to the filters and stuff. But speaking of that, Dalen, they're actually they're talking about like these are gonna get refreshed like middle of the month versus the PlayStation Plus Basic, Essential, whatever they really, what's up with this nomenclature?
Why can't they make it the same day?
No, but the nomenclature though
of
like Essential and all this other crap. And where'd that balloon? It's your day. So they're talking about the PlayStation Premium and Deluxe stuff will be like refreshing in the middle of the month, and still the PlayStation Plus free games that we get will still be the first Tuesday. So what are you guys feeling about that kind of like refresh schedule? We'll go with you, Luis, first. I know you're waiting, Dylan, but we'll get to you.
That's fine.
It is kind of weird, but I guess when I think about it a little more, it does make a bit of sense. So that if people are on like a month to month, they don't get charged 120 on one day. They kind of do have time to, if they're in between paychecks or whatever, they get paid bi-weekly, then that kind of does make a little bit more sense. Maybe it's not as big of a hit, for some people.
And it's cool to have like something to look forward to, like for every 2 weeks basically, right? It kind of turns into every 2 weeks you have something like, okay, the premium deluxe stuff will refresh, and the essentials, I'll still get my free games on the first Tuesday of the month. But we'll see how it goes moving forward though, right? Because they don't do this to like make essential better. They make it to like they want to push you to go to deluxe and premium or extra or whatever the fuck these names are, man. Dude, they're I will never try to remember them. But it's kind of like it was like with Gold, Xbox Gold versus Game Pass. They were like really trying to make it appealing for you to keep going to Game Pass, right? Not for you to simply stay on Gold, which Gold is kind of terrible, dude. You don't really get that many great games every month on that. But Dalen, what are you thinking about this, man? As far as the scheduling and it's basically every 2 weeks kind of thing.
I think Gold lets you keep some of your games, but not the point.
No, it's the same thing with PlayStation Plus Essentials and Gold. You keep
I meant like if your internet goes down, it doesn't have to do that cross checking. You get to keep the games on your console and still play them. No, for the PlayStation Plus Deluxe Extra, superior version, whatever the hell you want to call it, like everybody's been saying. We don't know what to call this, guys.
The Aryan version.
Figure out your tiers. Just be like, I got PlayStation Plus level 3. How about that?
They could have done that, right? Tier 1, 2, and 3, right? But
that's all. Just number it. It'd have been fine.
Yeah, they're fine.
But you guys pretty much made all the same points that I was going to make on it. And the fact is that if you continuously have new content cycling in, you're doing pretty good for your fan base.
Yeah, there you go. Especially with trophies, dude. It's easy. Like, I mean, I know that's just a me thing. But Nintendo it's a little hard to get excited. Well, maybe because Nintendo's been like refreshing their content for the last 20-30 years, right? Like they just keep selling it to you, whereas for PlayStation, I think this is one of the kind of first big initiatives to like giving you all the old stuff. Here we go, we're giving you the old crap. So we'll see how they cycle it in and out. They did we're finding out that there's got some like visual options and specifically a CRT filter option for PlayStation 1. Dalen, does that got you kind of hype? Are you pro CRT filter, or you'll keep it clean and un-CRT?
Well, I'm interested to see the other visual options that they give, but I recently played something. I can't remember what it was. What it was I was playing on, and I was able to filter it to CRT, and I hated it instantly. I mean,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong; it's nice to have that nostalgic look. And for me, when I was younger and I was playing these games, even though it was CRT and I know it was CRT, my brain did not know it was CRT. And I was looking at the TV screen like, this is the clearest picture I've ever seen. And let me go back to Atari. Oh, this is blocky as hell. It looks like crap. I play NES.
Also, this is the TV in the living room is the one that doesn't have the green hue on the corner. I remember from all the magnets that we were apparently messing with. But it is one of those like nice to have, but when you play it, you can maybe only put up with it for so long, right? But if you want the authentic, we didn't know any better.
Screens have gotten too clear nowadays. Yeah. We have come too far, and we have been spoiled with taking the Vaseline off the screen. Sometimes you making me think about the S video that you used to have, where you had the long blocking.
Are you talking about the adapter because you didn't have the RCA cables? I did not have the RCA cables for a long time, dude. For a long time. I had that adapter, I think maybe even going into the GameCube era, dude. I was still using that little adapter, the little RF unit adapter thing.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm talking about the RF unit. I'm talking about past the RF, then after composite, just between composite and HDMI, there was S video.
Okay. Well, and then Dreamcast messed with like VGA or something like that, which I was like,
oh yeah,
the Dreamcast was like a future machine. It was so futuristic to me at the time, dude, that I was like, I don't even have half of the components I need for this shit. Like, it's just so amazing.
It's like, I don't got a memory card, but I got a controller.
None of this right here. It's just so futuristic. Luis, what about you, man? Are you pro boob tube filters, or you're gonna keep it as clean as possible?
Yeah, I think it is one of those things that you kind of hit it on the head there. It's like you can turn it on for a quick second, maybe 5 minutes would be like the max.
Just to see what it looked like.
Now I need to go back just to relive the bad days for a moment. But going back to your guys' point there, I remember when we got our Nintendo 64, like it was so high tech that I actually had to call you. Remember, our cousin Jesse Solorio. Mm-hmm. My mom was like, "Damn, we got to call him because he has one and he plugged it in." We had like on the phone, like, "Where do I put this RCA cable? It makes no sense." So yeah, those were the days.
So
man.
You had to figure out you need an adapter, or you did have the RCA.
We did have the thing. We just didn't know what these colors were. What do they mean?
Hey man, I was also upset when they came out with, I'm pretty sure it was like one of the Zelda games, Majora's Mask. When Majora's Mask came out, I wanted to play it so badly. My mom bought me the game, and then I put that thing on my 64, and it said, "You cannot play this game." And I'm just like, why? You don't have the expansion. What the heck is that? You had to take out a component of the system and buy another thing to upgrade the graphics.
Dude, and this is the good old days, right? Those are good old days, right? That everyone brings up. So we were messing with a lot of BS, but that's what we got looking forward to. The PlayStation Plus, I think, is coming out in the next few weeks, man. So I guess we're gonna have to figure something out. I want to see a full list. I actually kind of probably should look through some of the trophy lists, and I like Power Picks. Little shout out to Power Picks. He puts like some beautiful PlayStation trophy guides. So that's kind of usually I'll kind of skim through. I was like, this looks like some bullshit. I don't want to do none of this.
I'm not trying to do
or
this.
Like, it's like, that seems kind of fun. I'll grab one or two, especially since they're part of a subscription. They're kind of easy to dip in and out, right? Like, you're like, I'll grab a trophy or two. The next
what I'm hoping of, I know I'm cutting you off in this case, but real quick, base to touch, because you brought it up and I wanted to bring it up earlier, is I'm hoping that they keep these games on their list for quite some time. I don't want them to be like, all right, this month we have these games, and then next month they're going away and we're replacing them with other games.
Yeah, that could be a little wacky. You would think, Game Pass does it where it's like a game will be there, I think maybe at least like a few months, right? At least 3 or 4 months. Unless they have little special deals like the Grand Theft Auto, San Andreas stuff. That was really only on there for like a month. And then
but this is PlayStation we're talking about. We don't know what they're gonna do on any given day.
They can be wacky when they really want to. But you know what? Xbox can be a little wacky too. Actually, Kotaku versus Xbox Game Pass. That's what was going on Monday afternoon, man. I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was an
Mm-hmm.
article going around on Kotaku. The headline of it was, "After years of hype, the Xbox Game Pass burnout is here." So that's just the headline, and of course, you know they're
It's burning
clickbaity.
out.
They want you to kind of click on the article, so I'm sure there's some good stuff on there. They do mention different things on there. You know, it's not just what the headline is, but that's what it is. And I like that Xbox Game Pass. The Xbox Game Pass Twitter said, "Tell me you limit yourself to only AAA games without telling me you limit yourself to only AAA games." And then Steven Totillo threw this in there. I was expecting quadruple A. I was expecting quad A games. But this is kind of interesting, I suppose, because you know it's like Xbox Game Pass. It's like supposed to be a premier service, right? It's like we're giving you Halo day one, we're giving you Gears day one, blah 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 blah. So it's also kind of fair to think that it's, you know, it's like, well, where are the big hits, big exclusives, right? But Xbox is like, wait, we got you on indie games, we got you on this. Now I'll go with you, Dan, because I think you've been the one that's been using Game Pass the most out of all of us. I use it, and I think Luis uses it as well. But I know you get a lot of use out of it. Do you feel like it's kind of underwhelming and it's kind of like it's just indie games, or, you know, because there's a lot of good stuff
Uh,
on there.
That's a tough question to answer because there's obviously AAA games on there, and some obviously good AAA games. They got the whole Halo collection on there, like every Gears of War, freaking Yakuza. But then you got games like Tunic and what was the one that I was Lost in Random, because I started playing. I was playing
Yeah.
that a while back. But it's the fact that yeah, it'll drop indie games, but it feels like they'll drop big indie games, and it gives you a real chance to try them without like breaking your pocket.
Yeah,
And that helps me a lot because I want to be able to try all these little games out. And I see them be announced all the time, but I don't want to try and waste my money on something I may not like. At least I can try it. And then I can move on to the next game. It gives you a whole library of games that still have good quality. It might be double A or even maybe an A, but they're still good games.
yeah. I mean, it's, so to you, I mean, I feel the same way, man. I think there's enough on there to kind of tide you over, right? Till
Yeah.
there's that big game. There's enough to justify the price, and I mean, a lot of it is third party type stuff that's on there as well, right? So you have a lot of the EA stuff is on there, since you basically get EA Pass. So I think there's enough on there to tide you over. I mean, it's fair to criticize them, like, well, where's the AAA games? So it's like, well, they're coming. We just keep delaying them is all, but that's fine. You know, but I think there's still enough to tide you over. And now that PlayStation is kind of getting into the game, they're not going for the day one releases like Xbox is. I still feel like it'll be enough to kind of push Xbox to, like, all right, let's kind of work on this a little bit. Let's be better. And even who's the Xbox boss? Phil Spencer,
Phil
right?
Spencer.
Phil Spencer's like,
The
let's do
boss.
better. Let's let's make something better. Even though I know PlayStation was gonna kind of dragged, kicking and screaming into this space. But they, you know, speaking of the third parties, there is Sniper Elite 5. That's coming day and date, May 26th. That's a day and date release. AAA. I mean, you know, it's not maybe high AAA, but it's kind of like a decent
High
quality
AAA,
title.
low AAA. You
We're
got
all
a
in the
AAA minus.
quad A's. We're in the double A pluses. So Luis, what do you think, man? Whether it's Sniper Elite 5, we're talking about a game that's coming day in day out in the this week, or, you know, is it enough on the service, man, or is it really kind of disappointing at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I do out of everyone, I use it the least for sure, but I mostly use it for those like weird sort of indie games that I wouldn't have played otherwise. So for me, it's kind of, and I don't play a game on it every single month, and I'm still paying for it. But
Mm,
you know, when there's a game, and because I do have some that I haven't finished that are like in my library or whatever,
yeah,
um, so to me, it is enough to just like if something else isn't catching my attention or I want to go back to it, then sure. But I think it is worth the price. The only thing that I would agree with, I guess, this point that they're saying is I think the burnout is pretty recent though, just because of all those delayed release dates that they've had coming up. So maybe that's kind of what spurred that the or added the spark to that
yeah,
sort of point. But yeah, they do have to sort of get on it, I think, especially now with that the PlayStation coming in with their own service, and that would make them more unique, I guess, right, to it
yeah.
than if they have like big Xbox exclusives, AAAs, maybe the quad A's in there day one, then that'll incentivize them to, or even people that maybe don't have a subscription to go ahead and get it. So I do
Yeah,
think they need
but
to
it's
pick up
still.
the slack a bit.
What do you think about the smoke though? The Xbox Game Pass smoke. You gotta like the little smoke, right? That the corporations are out here just kind of flinging some heat back and forth, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I know there was a guy. He's a freelancer. His name is Cian Mayer. Sorry if I mispronounced that there.
Cyan
But
maybe.
Cyan possibly. But he does say all of you people who don't read past the headline are telling on yourselves with that Kotaku article. The writer never says he's unsubscribing. Multiple indies are mentioned, and the fact that there have been barely any major exclusives in almost 2 years is, a fact. And the reply from Game Pass is also pretty unprofessional, to be honest, especially because it too seems to be based on a headline reading. Are the responses a result of people disliking Kotaku or people having a weird obsession with defending a publisher owned by a 2.3 trillion parent company? Who knows? I think this guy. I don't know, man. I don't know how authentic that really was from Game Pass, and of course they're playing into. We just read the headline, right? But I think it's fun, dude. I think even if that was the case, even if they're like, yeah, fuck it, we just read the headline, yeah, and we're kind of throwing it back at you guys, or maybe they did read it and like, still, let's create some little afternoon smoke here for people.
Yeah.
But it's fair to say. I mean, he does say, look, it is a fact that there hasn't been a major exclusive on it for a couple years. It's just a mere fact. But I think like we've kind of covered, right? It's still kind of there's still enough on there that tides you over, right? So that's it for that one. Next up, we have actually Ed Freeze. That's kind of a little related to this, but Ed Freeze, he's a former Xbox exec. He says he's concerned about Game Pass's potential impact on the game industry. He says it's like Spotify and not in a good way. His quote that we got, he was on the Xbox Expansion Pass podcast. He talked about, quote, people don't buy songs on iPhone, for example, because why would you? They're all on your subscription service app. Apple said they're going to take away buying songs because no one's buying them more, Freeze said. So we have to be careful. We don't create the same system in the games business. These markets are more fragile than people realize. I saw the games industry destroy itself in the early 80s. I saw the educational software business destroy itself in the mid 90s. They literally destroyed a multi-billion-dollar market in a few years. I kind of see his point now that he brought up the past, because the industry really was destroyed in the 80s. Atari really crushed it. I've been to that.
But that was for a completely different reason.
I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there, Dayton. I like that you're bringing that up, and I will get there. But it really was Atari self-destructive, right? It was just the poor quality of the software. I've been to the Alamogordo dump site where they dumped a whole bunch of ET cartridges, and that it was a myth. They just dumped, and they really did. They pulled out Atari consoles, Commodores, like the different games. It wasn't just ET, but it was a lot of ET cartridges in there. But yes, it was like self-destructive, where I don't think this is necessarily exactly the same way, but it's similar, I guess. As far, I feel like his comparison to Spotify is a little more apt, in the sense that it's like we're changing, or Microsoft and now PlayStation with Premium are kind of changing the way these products are made, right? They're the way they're consumed and the way that we consider making them forward. The Royal We, Luis, I know you're the only one that actually makes these things, so I'm using the Royal We here. But Dalen, what are your thoughts? I know you kind of, you were ready. You're ready to say
well, I do feel like when it comes to the Game Pass that it's kind of shooting. Well, I don't want to say shooting itself in the foot. I'll say stabbing itself in the foot, because in itself it's very true. And well, I can't fully agree with this man. But I can say that when it comes to AAA games being just readily available on the software, it has an impact on the fan base as a whole, simply because people are terrible. And I think we touched base on this a few times. People will, excuse my French, bitch about anything. They're giving these people basically free AAA games with an asterisk, as we like to say. But the fact is that people are like, well, you gave me Gears of War, but I didn't want Gears of War. I wanted these games. Why aren't you giving us better games? Like, dude, I just gave you a AAA game. What do you want? And people will do that all day. And this will set a dangerous precedent going down the line is that if you give the gamers the choice, they're always going to want the better game. Period. And it's gonna be like, hey, flood us with AAA games, take all the indie games and put it on its own separate system. At some point, somebody's gonna say that, i.e., I just did, but I didn't mean it in that fashion. But there are gonna be people out there that just wants all the best stuff for a low price, and they're just gonna bitch about it the whole time.
Well, and I think they've been going through a lot of this stuff recently. I think it's just kind of a delay, like we gotta wait for it, right? They just bought Bethesda, and I think maybe it was a year ago, a year and a half ago, right? We still gotta get to Starfield, and I know they just pushed it out, right? So we still gotta get to these games that they've accumulated developers, whether that's a good thing or not, right? But they've been acquiring. Sony bought Bungie, right? So we're still kind of a little bit of ways out to where, like, okay, now we're getting good games as part of the subscriptions.
I could say it this way, and it's part of the reason why I believed that Sony needed to change their model anyway, is let's just take PlayStation Plus, for example. And even though for people who have PlayStation Plus, we get, 3 free games every month? But 9 out of those 12 months, people are complaining, saying that the games are trash that they put up online. They're free games. Good, though.
They're usually, I think the quality of the PlayStation...
Us, we understand this, but these people want the best stuff.
Yeah.
Period. They don't care about their little rinky dink AA games or A- games. They want the S style games.
AAAs.
All right?
They want higher end AAAs.
Exactly.
But no, I mean it, and I think we're just in it. We play so many video games, right, that we're willing to put up with, like, it's not a Call of Duty every month, and people maybe want the Call of Duty. That's what they want.
It's like, all right, this month, not games that I feel like playing, but there's somebody out there that likes these games.
Or maybe they want the Eld Ring, like our friend Jet would say. They want the Eld Ring on PlayStation Plus.
Hey man, I'm ready for this demade version of Elden Ring called Eld Ring.
I'm down for that. Luis, what do you think, man? What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, I do think it is a better analogy to compare it to Spotify, but I don't think it's quite all the way 100% exactly like it. Just because with services like Spotify, Apple Music, I'll throw in Tidal in there, I guess, you do have options. They're multi-platform. You do have an option of which service you prefer. And they do give you sort of incentives, like specifically with Apple, the music is optimized to work on their hardware and their software. So it does give you sort of an incentive to be loyal to a specific, company. But
they forced you.
Well, no. Because I use Spotify, I don't use Apple Music, right?
No, I'm just talking about Apple Music. They forced you.
But if you don't like Spotify, then you just go to Apple Music and you get the same music. It didn't work at first, right? When they tried it with Tidal, where it's like you get exclusive albums here, and people just didn't feel like paying that premium price, and they quickly realized their mistake, so they changed that.
Yeah.
And yeah, with like Xbox and PlayStation, if you decide to, the game could get removed from the service at any point, and they'll let you know, but it could get removed at any point, and you can't necessarily just jump to another service and get it there. So it's not 100% the same thing.
Yeah.
And I guess there you do have the option, if you really want the game, then you buy the hard copy or the digital one separately. So
yeah, I think about the it's a little messy, and he's on a podcast, right? Like we are, we're messy when we're talking.
He's on a podcast.
We're messy when we're talking, right? So maybe he's this is coming to his mind, and he's thought about it for a little bit. So it's easier for us. It's easier for us to look at it and be like, that's all wrong, and be nitpicky about it. But I think about the closest thing is kind of like we were talking about, the Spotify thing, and I think the closest thing that he could hit on that could be troubling is if you couldn't access this game otherwise, right? Like how he's saying, like Apple's considering, like, we're not even gonna sell this to you, so you can't even have it like without a subscription. It's all subscription. I think that's when it would be troubling, but I don't know. I don't see. It's possible, right, that we get to a point like that, but I think for now it seems okay. I guess a couple years from now we're gonna be like, damn, I was so wrong. Ed Freeze was so right, but we'll find out. We'll see. We'll find out. We'll move on to our quick takes, quote unquote quick takes on here. Reggie Fils-Aimé, who used to be the Nintendo CEO, something. He was a big shot at Nintendo. He is telling the game industry to embrace unions and to move on. In a quote, he told the Washington Post, I believe it was like a podcast interview. He said, "quote In many industries, unionization is a good thing, and as a leader, you need to look hard. And if this is what your employees want, you need to address that, embrace it, and move on." And of course, that's kind of coming off of like the Raven testers. They're under Activision. They were kind of voted. They voted to unionize, and they will now negotiate a contract with Activision. We'll get to the Fils-Aimé thing of it all first, if you like. Luis, what are your thoughts on that, man? The Reggie. I like how he's kind of out of it now, but he's still like stirring shit up. He's like, I got a book to sell. I got a book to sell, motherfuckers. Let me stir it up, right? But anything specific to Reggie, I guess, or what Reggie said?
Yeah, I mean it's a nice thought, and I hope that maybe someday in the future it will happen, but I don't think it's going to be like a global sort of blanket term thing. It's going to probably be something like what Ravensoft is doing with Activision Blizzard, where it'll slowly sort of be like applied across the board at different studios, and maybe that will sort of be the domino effect that leads to that, where someone is coming from a Ravensoft going to another studio and they say, wait, but we had a union over there, and then it kind of starts, people stop going to companies that aren't unionized, maybe.
Yeah,
is like
and I know
the
people
reason.
are kind of already rallying around this, right? That they had a vote. And to give you an example, I know I don't bring up my work specifically, but me at my job, we recently I'm part of a union at my work, and they were talking about like kind of getting us raises, and the county was fighting back, the employer was fighting back, and one of the things was like they took a vote. It's like, are you willing to strike? And I won't say how I voted. If you know me, you know how I voted. But there's a vote. Are you guys willing to strike? And I think it was like 95% people were like, I'm willing to strike. But the vote is you're willing to. You're saying you're willing to do this thing, right? And that was enough, because they came back to the bargaining table, and we're gonna get a nice little raise or whatever, or more better than what we were supposed to get at first. But this Raven thing is also a similar thing. They're voting to unionize, and people are like, yes, they're going to be the first to unionize. Like, wait, hold on. They still got to get a contract in place. So I feel like I hope people are not running away with it too quickly. But as far as Reggie Dalen specifically, and then we'll kind of dig a little deeper into Raven, or we got another comment on Raven. But as far as Reggie Dalen, a Nintendo ex-boss here.
Well, it's not so much in regards to Reggie himself. It's more in regards to unionizing. Quite honestly, for most industries, it's just a good idea. Fair wages and protection for your employees to make sure that you continue to get treated fairly. And then you have resources to be able to combat this major company that you may actually work for. Why not? Because the company doesn't want you to be able to fight back. They want you to be they want to be able to throw an NDA at you, and you have no choice but to sign it. Like, what? Just unionize.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, like, speaking about Raven more specifically now, is that they did vote to unionize, and they still got to negotiate that with Activision. And this is a comment from Jason Schreier from Bloomberg. He said, quote, next, this group of Raven testers will set out to negotiate a contract with Activision. Based on how Activision has reacted to Raven's union efforts so far, safe to say the coming negotiations will neither be short nor easy. So I think that's kind of the key to all this, right? We have to see what actually comes out of this, right? At the very least, like I think it was mostly QA testers, right, Lisa? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
They're kind of like coming together like, this is kind of BS, because I think QA testers are kind of low on the totem pole, right? They're or lower-ish on the totem pole.
Yeah, a lot of it. There's this weird sort of misconception across the board in the industry that they're not developers, so they're kind of seen as lesser than part of the team, which is what happened with them when they basically just I forgot what game they shipped or were about to ship, and they just like laid off. I don't know how many of them, but they just like fired a bunch of them on the spot.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about.
So this is one thing to kind of get this sort of that power back, right? Or just kind of shift the dynamic a little bit. We hope for the best. We don't talk about it too much, but these have been rumblings kind of happening the last few weeks, right? But I thought this was kind of like, okay, this is a milestone, but let's not get ahead of ourselves here quite yet. Let's see how it plays out, and it's kind of getting a little bit of power here. Anything else, at least, before we kind of move on to the next thing?
Yeah, I mean that's it. It's like that is the first step into starting this uphill battle that they're gonna have to start fighting. So we'll see how long it takes, and best of luck to them. But I don't think it's gonna be easy.
Oh yeah,
Don't count your chickens
Jason
before
Schreier,
they're
we have a
hatched.
love-hate relationship with Jason Schreier. He keeps it interesting though. He keeps it nice and spicy. I like following this guy. Next thing we have on here is Microsoft passed on potentially having Spider-Man on Xbox. Apparently, this was Marvel Games. They went to both PlayStation and Sony about what kind of games they could put together, right? Marvel Games, and which I'm like, Marvel Games, what is Marvel Games? But PlayStation and Xbox. This is a quote from, like we said, Marvel Games Jay Ong. He said, quote, being from console first party in my past, I pinged both sides, both Xbox and PlayStation, and I said, we don't have any big console deals with anyone right now. What would you like to do? Microsoft's strategy was to focus on their own IP. They passed. And of course, this kind of eventually led to Sony making Spider-Man with Insomniac. So, I don't know if it would have been specifically like having Spider-Man on both Xbox and PlayStation, but it's an interesting like alternate reality, right? That we could have seen Microsoft been like, yeah, give us a Wolverine, give us some of these other characters, and we'll make them badass, right? Like
what if?
Yeah, a little what if. At least, what your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we don't know for sure whether or not it would have been Spider-Man, Wolverine, whatever, but it looks like it worked out for Sony in the long run specifically, and whoever these guys are here. But I guess for Guardians of the Galaxy specifically, then Xbox came in and gave them that little Game Pass sort of what do you call it, stimulus, a little stimmy for their Guardians.
Like, let's not miss out on this. Let's not miss out on this. It was like, all right, Microsoft, you doing shit. You out there keeping it higher on the higher end of AAA. Yeah, it's one of those things where like what could have been really potentially, because I mean, look, it was still Insomniac, and it's still juiced up Insomniac just enough for Sony to like have to pay a little over market maybe. But even so, dude, Insomniac's like the hardest working developer out there, and Sony got them for like pennies on the dollar, dude. Like, what was it, like 200, 300 million? Yet Bungie gets 3.4 billion, and they're just now giving us more vault space. Like, it's, it's crazy. It's fucking crazy. I think somebody left money on the table or something interesting happened. I also heard this from I listened to Michael Pachter as well. He was talking about how maybe the Apex, what are the Apex Legends developer? Respawn, is it Respawn? The Respawn Entertainment, I guess the main guy sold it to whoever it is, Activision or whatever the company is. And I know Michael Pachter was like, that Apex Legends has kind of made a crap load of money, and he sold it like before it actually blew up or whatever. So it's definitely one of those things where it's like, just what if. The next thing that we won't have to wonder about what if is we might have Death Stranding 2 confirmed. Normus Reedus said we just started the second one, and this is on an interview he did for leoedit.com. Is this Brian's website, man? Is he competing against We Got Cubs? We gotta hit this guy up. Brian's my brother, by the way. leoedit.com. And this is via VGC. They asked him, he asked how he got involved with the game. Reedus responded, quote, Guillermo del Toro, he gave me my first movie, called me up and said, hey, there's a guy named Hideo Kojima. He's going to call you. Just say yes. And I go, what do you mean just say yes? He goes, stop being an asshole. Just say yes. So I do like how there's this little... what do you call it? A little trifecta of characters. There's Hideo Kojima, there's Norman Reedus, and in the middle of it all is Guillermo del Toro talking about just say yes to this man, just be a part of his Death Stranding game or whatever. But it looks like we have Death Stranding 2 coming along. Dalen, what are your thoughts, man? Did you beat the first one, by the way?
No, I didn't even play it. As a matter of fact, I've only seen you play it. But I was reading that quote, and it just made me laugh really hard. And I was thinking, if somebody asks you if you're a god, you say yes. And I'm thinking, if Hideo Kojima calls you up and says, would you like to be a part of my team? You say yes. I don't care what the context is.
Yeah. What the context or nothing. I do like. Well, I think it's just a matter of Norman Reedus is like, who's this Japanese guy, right? We know him because we play video games and all that. But I think that's probably what it was, right? It's like, you don't know who this guy is, just say yes that you'll work.
Yeah, you got these major actors out there that obviously have never even touched a video game in their life, but then they get offered these major roles for these video games
wild, right?
that are, they're just so well known. And you're like, yes, he decided to do this movie. And then you're finding out that, like, he never read the comic book and he doesn't even know that it's a comic book.
The most recent example, I think, was like Jim Carrey when he was doing interviews for Sonic 2, like the last movie that came out. And they're like, have you played it? I was like, oh, I can't play the game, man. I was like, Jim Carrey came out like 30 years ago, man. That's like,
Jim Carrey came out 30 years ago.
No. I mean, Sonic the Hedgehog came out 20, 30, 40 years ago or whatever, man. And
well, I also no, the person that we were talking about before was I cannot remember his name. He's the guy who plays the Mandalorian. What's his name?
Oh man,
he's doing Last of Us. That was Pascal, the one where he made that quote. Pascal? Yeah, Pedro Pascal. Everybody was like, "Did you play the game Last of Us?" He was like, "Did you play the game Last of Us?" He said, "Yeah, I played it for a minute. I got a feel for it, but I'd rather be my own character."
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Right? He was like, "Yeah, but you know what? I'm gonna read this."
No, not even. He said he watched his nephew play it.
Oh, that's right.
He told him to stop.
Yeah, and he's like, "No, I've seen enough. I'm good." Luis, before we move on, man, what's you hyped? You beat the first one, right?
Yeah, I beat the first one. It took me a minute though. I do remember at one point hitting a stopping point where I thought, I don't know if I'm in it for the long haul. This game's a little wacky, but it does pay off in the end. It's a good little payoff. Everything makes sense at some point.
I remember you guys calling it the walking simulator.
It was a lot of walking, dude. It was a lot of walking.
There's a lot of walking, a lot of awkwardly shit stacked behind on your back, and it looked weird and funky. But I do like how there was like a little organizer, right? It's like, do you want to do it automatically? Or do you want to do it yourself?
Oh,
like, no,
yeah.
Automatic.com. Do not ask me to manually put this together. But I do like how at some point you would have to. It's such a wacky game, dude. Try it out, man. Try it out. I think I might have it hanging around, but
you do. I bought it for you for Christmas. You better have it.
Hey, try it out. Okay.
Yeah, I'll replay the first one at some point.
We'll see. I think there was like a update to like PS5 or something, right? So it kind of
there was
frames or whatever. So before this comes out, I will have played it. But he just said we're just getting started, so I'm thinking a little far out.
You might have a good 3 years before.
Yeah, so I have some time still. Dalen, this was for you. I just mentioned it. Destiny 2's loot vault finally gets bigger after 3 long years. That's the headline from Kotaku. Sorry, Kotaku, we didn't click the link. We just looked at the headline. I did click the link. Actually, I'm lying. The vault space is being increased to 600 slots starting with season 17. Dalen, you pretty happy about that?
Now I'm gonna call you out because you hit up Jet earlier. You put Stargin.
Yeah, but that's on the rundown, dude. That's not what
so I'm still gonna call you out.
That's not a public comment out in the world.
Jet
for
is
the
publicly
whole
no.
It is now.
No, Jet is publicly saying Eld Ring. I know what I said. I know what I said.
I meant to do this. This is on purpose.
So it's fair to say we're getting more slots, Dylan, but it's all this crap that we never use anyways, right? Like it's just
the problem with getting more slots is the fact that you have more slots because we have a whole bunch of crap that I know I'm never gonna go back to. But I was like, it's cool. I got this item. Now what do I do with it? I'm just going to put it in the vault and say, ooh, it looks nice. And then it starts filling up space. And I start getting a whole bunch of stuff. And then my vault is full. And then I got to start breaking down stuff so I can put more stuff in my vault. Yeah. Now we're going to have 600 slots. And it's going to take longer.
Dude, it's going to fill up within like an hour, dude. It's
still going to fill up.
Yeah. So it's really... I don't know. There's got to be a better system of like, we have your stuff here. Just go pick it up for a couple glimmers or whatever, right? If you ever think of ever needing it, go to that. But anyways.
Well, they have like in, what was it, The Division, you could mark stuff as like basically trash. And then you could search for it with that filter. You're like, put all the trash.
Yeah, I don't know if Destiny doesn't do that. You would think.
Yeah, they don't do market as trash. They do you want to break it down?
Yeah,
or lock it. Those are your only choices.
Yeah, their sorting options are wacky, but it's still a great game. Still kind of beautiful. Next thing on here, this one's for you, Dalen. Saber Interactive is joining Asper to make a Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake. This was we have some kind of a quote from the Embracer Group Quarter 4 report. This is from one of the board members, Matthew Karsh. He says, quote, "We're fully confident that the game is going to be fantastic, but it's a massive, massive product, and massive products require a lot of effort and a lot of time to make good, and especially when you're talking about a game already old. Very old. We've basically had to remake that game from scratch," he said. I do like how he threw in a little very old.
Very old.
Like 2003, I think, for Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Dalen, what is it? Did you just want to comment on this game is being made, or is there something specific about Saber, like joining forces with this other company?
It's the matter that they are just remaking the game at all. But no. It's not. It's not a thing of just. I'm glad that they're making it. I'm glad that Saber and Asper are working together, because I know that Saber Interactive is a good company. I've seen them do plenty of things that currently, off the top of my head, I can't name. I don't know who Asper is.
They did some background stuff on Halo, I believe, and some of the Halo stuff, like kind of in the background or porting or whatever. So they kind of they got a nice little pedigree.
So I'm hoping that they take all their experience of actually doing that stuff and throw it into this game, because I do want to see a good version of this game. Because I know there was I want to say it was the Knights of the Old Republic online game, but I can't remember exactly what it was called. And it turned out to be a terrible game. So I'm hoping that they could actually recreate this properly, like an actual remake. Maybe they change a couple of things to actually keep it fresh instead of the same exact story. Maybe actually put the entire story into the game this time, because when Knights of the Old Republic first released, it was like a little broken because they just didn't finish the game and they dropped it.
That's where I found out. That's where I found out my love of Western RPGs, man. Like that was definitely a Western RPG where you're making decisions, you can break crap, you can like find ways to like glitch into the game. So
they didn't just break it; they left it. The code was there, and they were like, "Oh, we ran out of time. Well, leave the code there, but don't give anybody access to it." Then obviously somebody found it in the code, unlocked it, and said, "There was all this content. Why didn't you put it in the game?"
Dude, so I mean, you gotta scale back, Dalen. Come on, they gotta scale it back. It's got to release at some point.
Hey, we got a PS5 now compared to what we had back then, which was like PS2 or Xbox Black, the brick. And I assure you, either way it goes. Either way, the fact is they have way more room to make bigger games.
No, but it's still time. It's still time, Dylan. I mean, it takes longer time.
Did you not just read the quote? You just read the quote. Massive product and massive products require a lot of effort and a lot of time to make it good. Fine. It's going to take a lot of time. Do it. Take your time. Don't take too much time, because people will get upset, especially the investors. But
I just hope that when this game comes out, we find out that there's a background of a full treasure trove of data that they left out just for data. Like, why they made put it into the game? I was like,
they made a whole second game and just put it in the background. I bet you it's gonna be released as DLC.
We'll see. I think they'll do a pretty decent job on it, but we'll see, dude. I'm excited. Knights of the Old Republic. We've talked about. I haven't played a lot of RPGs in my life. This was definitely one that I played through, and I might have even played it twice just to see what the different.
You wanted to go to the dark side and see what happened.
It was nice. Next thing on here, this one's also for both of you actually. The Last of Us PlayStation 5 remake is reportedly launching this year. This is from our buddy Jeff Grubb, of course, over at VentureBeat. He actually said in a kind of funny Gamecast that I keep hearing that it's coming out this year. He was also saying I'm quote unquote pretty confident it will be launching this quote unquote holiday. So we should be seeing this Last of Us PS5 remake. Also, like real quick thing, I think this means God of War Ragnarok is getting delayed, right? This is their big title for the holidays, right? The Last of Us PS5.
Well, remake. It could be.
Right, Luis? What do you think? It can't be. It can't be.
Yeah, I mean, as far I feel like if this is a case where both games came out, I think they would both do well. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, that we're tracking that sort of God of War Ragnarok delay. Well, specifically you really do feel confident that it's going to get delayed.
It's getting pushed.
But with The Last of Us, I don't know about the holiday. That would be awesome. But I always kind of thought that playing The Last of Us Part 2, because when they did a lot of those like flashback scenes and all that with the different character models of both Ellie and Joel, that is a big chunk of work that they had already kind of done that would help them with the remake. So I think there's a lot of assets that they can reuse and sort of uplifts them to bring it up to par with what they wanted it to look like at the time.
Yeah.
Because even then, yeah, with the PS3, they were pushing that thing to the limit to get it to look how it
That's
looked.
probably
So.
what got it to get me my first yellow light of death, dude. Was like the last
Oh.
of Us. It was like we can't handle this. Now I do hope with all this.
I'm sorry. Did you say your first yellow light of death?
I think it died twice because I was trying to get the original one with full backwards compatibility, dude, and like it kept dying. And at some point they're like, "All right, look, we're gonna give you this other one. It's not the original." Like, whatever, man, just give it to me. That's fine. But with all these reused assets, you know, I hope they have a boat somewhere there, Luis, that all the boats are reused assets. I hope all the boats
the same textures.
are the same textures and everything from Last of Us 2. But I think that'd be the most efficient way to go about it, right? If only the fans would understand,
Yeah.
I feel. Dalen, your thoughts on this, man? What you looking forward to this?
I'm most likely not going to play it myself. I'm cool with the fact that they are doing it, but for me specifically, it is just a need for a new skin on the game, just to update it. And I know that Last of Us 1 was actually very widely skipped upon, even though it was a great selling game. Every time I talk to somebody about, did you play Last of Us? They're like, yeah, I played it for a couple of minutes. I'm like, you're fucking up. Why didn't you play that game? That was a great game.
That's a lot of French, Dalen.
Yes, I did throw some French at you. But if you haven't played Last of Us, you're messing up because it's an excellent story, period. Well, and I think, the fact that they're re-upping it, it's a good chance for the current generation to get into it.
I think it sold pretty well, but I think kind of with the accolades of 2 and just how well received it was, not by us. We didn't give it Game of the Year, Dalen. I'm sorry to say. I'm sorry to say at least. But we can. It was my number 2, I believe. My number 2 of the year, dude. Final Fantasy VII Remake. Though. I mean, dude,
that was a jump.
It was just so good, man. It was just so good. But anyways, I think just kind of with the pedigree that the series has now, it's kind of a new lease on life, right? The fact that it's like, look, maybe you missed the first one. Boom.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Catch up and then play Last of Us 2 or whatever. I wouldn't be surprised to even see like maybe a bundle, maybe, you know, a month or 2 out or whatever it is. Next thing we have on here, Final Fantasy news might be coming in June, according to Remake director Tetsuya Nomura. It's going to be as part of Final Fantasy VII 25th anniversary. So I'm hoping for some he didn't speak specifically Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 news, Dalen, but he's got to give us something, right? He's got to give us
Hey, I'll tell you what, even though, yes, I want to say Remake Part 2 news, the game that I've actually been waiting for, I could even wait a little bit longer for Final Fantasy VII Part 2, but obviously I'm not getting any younger. I need me a copy of Ever Crisis. They announced that game, and I have been waiting for it ever since. I know that First Soldier came out, and I was like, I've played it on my phone for 5 minutes. I was like, I'm done with this game.
Is that how you treat all mobile games? There you go.
That's how I really... No, I can't say that about all mobile games. I picked up that game, and it felt like I was playing... I don't know if you actually played it on the PSP. It was Parasite Eve 3rd Birthday. Did you ever play that game? I played that game, and it was so repetitive. I felt that exact way about First Soldier immediately in the middle of the tutorial. I couldn't even get into an actual match. I was like, I know where this game is going. I can't deal with this on my phone. Shut it down.
Came out for PSP. Oh, Crisis Core, I guess.
Crisis Core was the one with Zack. Crisis Core was good. Even though later on it gets repetitive, but I'm waiting for Ever Crisis. Ever Crisis is the one that has the remake of Final Fantasy VII and Crisis Core and like the phone game that had the Turks in it. I can't remember the name of it. It's telling the whole storyline of Final Fantasy VII in an RPG format with better updated models.
Look, if their announcement for that gets in the way of Final Fantasy Remake Part 2 news, I want them to scrap that. I don't want them to tell you anything about that. I want them to just talk.
Hey man, you're a complainer. This is you wanting your AAA higher end
AAA. Almost to quad A. Almost to quad A, to that quadruple A. This next one is for Luis here. We're hearing that Warzone 2 might be more like, quote, more like Blackout than the original. And this is from our friends over at VGC. I think they're our friends. I don't know if they even know about us. But VGC,
I don't even know if they know about us.
On their article, they said it's claimed that Warzone 2 will adopt some features from Call of Duty's first battle royale, Black Ops 4's Blackout. Yeah. That includes armor requiring a satchel to be equipped rather than coming by default, and a new inventory system where you can only fit so many weapons and equipment in your bag. I don't know about Julius, but I did play Blackout, and we were coming off of playing like PUBG, and was it PUBG or the other wacky one, H1Z1? And I remember like things like, no, this is not what I want. It's cool, but it just felt like small, right? I don't know. It didn't feel as open world. I played a lot of Warzone. We played a lot of Warzone. But what are your thoughts on this? Does this worry you a little bit that it's like, it's more like Blackout than Verzank or whatever?
No, not at all. If anything, it makes me a little more interested in it, because I don't think they'll dial down the map size and things of the like. Because I mean, they do have like the smaller map, the different modes where it is a smaller map and you sort of have your revive on a cooldown. I forgot what it was called.
Yeah.
But I think this is more of just like the way that the combat is going to work, which is what they're talking about with the armor system and the inventory. So maybe it'll be more of like that grid-based inventory system where you have to sort of fit things within that grid. So different types of weapons, equipment, that sort of thing. So if that's what it is, then I'll definitely try that out for sure. Yeah. That has me kind of a little intrigued.
But does that up the complexity, or do you feel it's just different? It'll just be a different, gameplay style. It's not more complicated, simpler. It's just different. Something that'll vibe with you more.
I don't think by much. I don't think by much. It would, if the inventory is what I think it would make it a little more complicated. Maybe not even necessarily complicated, but it would slow the gameplay down a little bit. Mm-hmm. So it would make you sort of think about when you swap weapons out and when you check your inventory and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I think it would add more of an element of strategy to it than anything.
All right. Well, we're getting closer, man. I mean, it is June, and we're already like, it should be the good one, right? It's like when they used to say, it's like, I think the Tony Hawks are saying, it's the odd number Tony Hawks. Those are the good ones, or the even numbers, or something like that. This is the even number year for Call of Duty, so this should be the good one. I feel like maybe even Dalen picks it up, but we'll see. We're gonna go on to what you've been playing real quick. Luis, I got a note from you, but I'll let you read it if you like. So you didn't do a lot of what you've been playing this past week because. What have you been up to?
Well, someone put like 50 other O's. I think that was Dalen. Okay. But I just said busy with family from Mexico, though, is what I said.
You missed a couple O's on your pronunciation. But no gaming for you. No gaming for you in the last week. Not even Switch, huh? You didn't take the Switch. That's a good hanging out with family, though. It's a good hanging out with family when you don't.
I think this month has been a month for like doing other stuff. Even though the games are out there, they're out for playing. There's not a lot of gameplay going on.
And recently. It's summer, dude. Summer's coming up. You gotta go out. Oh, by the way, no. Well,
hey man, don't break your mind thinking about whatever that was.
Because I was thinking I might be gone next week, but things got rearranged. So no, we will be here. We will be here next week. There will be a podcast because I thought I was gonna be out of town. Anyways. Dalen, what have me and you been playing? I think you only put one thing on here, and we've both been playing.
That's because it was the only thing I actually played this week, other than Rocket League. But it was just Little Hope. We played what's the whole thing? Dark Pictures Anthology. We actually hopped on a Little Hope, and we actually. We completed that game. And if you didn't know, Carlos, I actually just read this literally like half a minute ago. Little Hope is inspired by real life events in history, the Andover witch trial.
It's in the game, Dalen. I mean, they're witch trials. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, I understand they're witch trials, but you could always make some fictional stuff of witch trials, especially since that whole famous thing that happened in Salem. But this was a completely different place, and the story was very interesting to actually jump in and out of. And you're always thinking, how much can I change this story? And I was very skeptical of actually dying too soon. We were too busy trying to survive.
It's a nice little game, man. And I mean, it's from the guys. If you guys don't know, Supermassive Games, the guys that did Until Dawn, right? And I'm looking forward to the Corey Dylan. I don't care if you're ready to play that game or you're gonna pick it up or not, Dylan. I'm playing it. I'm.
Hey, no. I'm gonna pick that game up,
Okay.
but I want to play through the other ones first.
We have time.
I
We
mean,
played through this in the last week, right? Over a couple of days. Was it?
it took us a couple of days.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
So we're
pretty
good.
short games. They're
Yeah.
not too expensive. I think I picked it up for like $30 or something like that.
And Luis, I will say, Dalen got a taste of that Detroit Become Human, where you got to replay like a couple chapters to
Oh
make
no,
your
man! I
to
got
make your
taste of that when I
choices
played
correct.
Heavy Rain.
Hey,
Don't even worry. I
so
had that taste when I
so
played
in
Heavy
these
Rain.
games, Luis, it's this horror. I don't know if you know about them much, but
Yeah,
there's
I've played
characters
some
that
of
live
them.
and die, right, and all that. So I think in me and Dalen's playthrough, 2 guys died on my watch, and Dalen was like, "Carlos, you screwed us up," blah blah blah, and I was like, "No, I'm pretty sure you got someone killed at the very end." It's like, "No." No way. And then when we went back to try to save that character, Dalen
It
was
was just one
responsible for that
character. I made a
person.
bad choice.
Very bad choice. And I think,
Hey man, it was like it was one of those really late responses. It was okay. I'm not gonna kill it, but I made a choice because I just wanted to get away from everything. And if I had just stayed, I'd have been fine.
well, how
But
about
then
this?
it happened like a whole half an hour later that the character died
Yes.
because of that one decision.
So much like Detroit, then or Luis, going back to my point, is that we had to go back like a chapter and a half back to like clean up that decision. So we definitely had to go back a few chapters. But I think that's the wackiness of this game, and I think like we just said, we beat it over a couple nights, so it's short enough to be like, yeah, all right, let's go ahead and go back a few chapters, correct, clean up our mistakes. But it's really cool because it kind of, if you make a quote unquote wrong choice, it actually gives you extra things. There's like a little mini game where you have a pulse, and that thing is hard, man. That's why I died every single time. I made the
You definitely
non-heroic.
got a couple of people killed.
I went the non-heroic option, and at some point I did have to be like doing the little mini game, and I died every time. But Little Hope was pretty great. We still got the next one though, right? And I think let's clean up this one. We're definitely, we did the save everybody. We did the save everybody option, and next up,
Next, we're gonna kill
yeah,
everybody,
yeah,
and
next,
then I'm done.
Please, next option, kill everyone. And just like Until Dawn, if you guys ever played that one, Until Dawn, it wasn't that easy to kill everyone, dude. Like, you actually had to like do specific things, otherwise you would miss your
it
chance
wasn't
of
that.
killing everyone.
Yeah, it wasn't that easy to kill everyone, but it was pretty easy to get a couple of people killed by accident.
No, for sure. The majority of the people you get you can kill by like boneheaded decisions, or you just missed the QTE or whatever. But to kill everyone, now that's a true sign of skill. All right, so I think that's what we're gonna work on, right, Dalen, for that.
Yeah.
Other than that, I played a little bit more of Cuphead. That game is still nice, and I can't play that thing straight through. I just dip into it every so often, give it like 10, 15 minutes of my time. Like, okay, I need to move on. I need to do something else. I did move on to play Tiny Tina's Wonderland. And I know we were talking about this, Dalen, right offline, that I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know about like a fantasy type of game. I thought it was like an overhead game. It's like, no, it's just Borderlands 3. Just Borderlands 3, maybe with maybe a few more like stat options or whatever. But I'm having fun with it. I actually am having fun with it. I like the dialogue in it. I like the weapon. I mean, it's like a billion weapons that half of them like really are kind of worthless, right? Like, you spend half the time looking through your inventory. It's like, this is crap. Is this good or not? I don't know. I just gotta like.
You gotta really look at the stats. You
Yeah.
don't like looking at stats.
I really don't, dude. And it gives you a quick little like sort of a cheat where it's like, oh, it's more powerful or whatever. But sometimes that's not really what you want, right? You want a better fire rate. You want a whatever. I'm having fun with it. I like the jokes in it. It's all pretty good. And if you ever want to join, Dalen, I'm here for you, man, on the co-op action. Don't let me put it on easy, Dalen. If it gets too hard, I'm gonna be like, you know what, whatever. I'm gonna knock it down and beat it through that way until Dalen joins me for a little co-op action. So it's pretty
right.
fun. It's pretty fun if you can get it on the cheap or what. I think I saw some sales on it on PC. So if you guys see it, make sure to check it out. It's not too out of the norm of what a Borderlands game is, which I actually kind of
But
like.
but do you think you could stick with this entire game, because you were barely able to stick with Borderlands 1, and I don't even think you made it through Borderlands 2. You definitely didn't make it through Borderlands 3.
We're gonna find out. This is definitely one of those. I'm keeping it with on GameFly to see how far I get into it. I'm definitely not gonna keep it. I'm sorry, GameFly. Also, GameFly, we're looking for a sponsorship still. But it's definitely one of those. I'm gonna keep it GameFlyed and see how far I get. If it gets to a point where I'm like, whatever, I'm sending it back, I'll let you know. But for now, it's fun, dude. I'm actually looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to and it's cool because the autosaves is super generous, right? Like, it's stupidly generous. It's like you shoot a couple enemies for like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, autosave.
And then you can manually save it too.
Yeah, so there's Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. I'm pleasantly surprised. By it.
Actually, I can't say manually save. You have to run to a place where it loads and it automatically saves.
Well, that's the end of the show, but we'll leave you with this last little bit here. Have you guys seen the new Chip and Dale movie?
I plan on watching it tomorrow.
It's on Disney Plus. I actually was hoping the internet kind of didn't spoil it, but I don't. It's out there. Ugly Sonic is straight up in this movie, in this Chip and Dale movie. And he's slinging merchandise in it, and the whole movie. Look, I will try not to spoil it, Dalen, but it's a nice little send up, dude. It's a nice little send up of like you have all these different characters, from the Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast. All these characters are like, Disney really let them get away with this crap.
Hey,
you'd be surprised.
Another thing they let them get away with, and I know you didn't put this on the rundown, is that the Ben Affleck's version of Batman is up against E.T. in a video game as a cameo in the movie.
Yeah, it's you know what it reminded me of? It's kind of like it's very tongue in cheek. It doesn't take itself too seriously, right? But it sort of reminded me of like the Pokemon Detective movie, where it's Pokemon
Detective Pikachu,
but it's wacky. But they also want to be dark, sort of. But they only push it so far, right? Because it's still sort of a children's.
It's still a kids movie.
But, yeah, if you guys haven't seen it, definitely check out Chip and Dale. It's on Disney Plus. And yeah, Ugly Sonic makes it appear, and it's not just like a quick cameo too, dude. Like, he actually has like a couple moments in the movie.
He has a role.
He has a role. Ugly ass Sonic, and they really definitely play up.
He's got a bit of a pot belly in this one, man. They really messed up that model. I'm so glad they didn't put him.
I forgot how bad it looked. Now I gotta watch this movie.
Oh, dude, definitely check it out. It's it's nice and wacky.
It's very Roger Rabbity. I know that because I checked the quality of it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just the latest example I could think of is kind of that Pokemon Dark Detective or whatever that one was called, because I remember Detective that one was Pikachu. Kind of like dark, but not that dark. But they're playing in that realm, right? They're still playing in that realm.
Hey, when they put realism into it, there's gonna be something dark whether you like it or not.
Oh yeah,
people are terrible.
And there's little things hidden for the parentals, right? Of course, in there. Well, that's it. Salient Points number 69. We kept it real special, of course, for this episode. As you could tell, we really planned it out. Dalen, it is your day. But for now, I'm Carlos Macias. Thank you guys for joining us. Remember, youtube.com, wegotcoms.com, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Leave your comments. Dalen, I can hear you banging the little material against your head. Dalen Kirkwood, it is apparently his day, as it says in the balloon. Luis Mendez on the Wheels of Steel, thank you for joining us, sir.
69.
We'll see you guys next time. Latest.